Ben is a junior. He is majoring in computer science and classical archaeology. This summer, he is going to work as an applications engineer intern at Rocket Mortgage. And Ben observed the following to me in an email. I am passionate about things technology and ancient history, and I'm grateful to be able to study both subjects at U of M. The methods of technologists and archaeologists have far more overlap than people imagine, and I enjoy exploring and existing in the intersection between the two.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. So today I'm going to be presenting on some of my work with the Agros project at the Kelsey Museum. So before I begin, I wanted to give a little bit of an overview about Karanis, which is the site in question. Karanis is a town in Egypt, specifically in the Fayum Oasis, which is the result of a public project works by Ptolemy II in the 3rd century BCE. Which created or expanded an oasis fed by the Nile River for the purposes of farming and creating agricultural communities. So Karanis was inhabited, like I said, from the 3rd century BCE, and then was conquered by the Romans, by Augustus. And from that point onward was a Roman town, which maintained many Egyptian characteristics and Greek as well. And the town itself, it is thought that it began a terminal decline sometime around the 3rd century CE. And that decline lasted, it was previously thought until the 5th century, but archaeobotanical evidence analyzed by the Agros project has found that it was probably inhabited until at least the 7th century CE. So the town of Karanis is really unique because after the canal that fed the Fayum Oasis fell into disuse, the town was incredibly well preserved by the immediate desertification of the area. It is composed of a lot of very organically rich mud bricks, which we'll get to later. Mud bricks are really great or really not great, depending on who you ask. If you're a budding fertilizer salesman, they're just fantastic. And if you're an archaeologist, that fact might not please you as much. But you can see that this, it's basically like a Pompeii-like total preservation of the structures of these buildings. And there was also an immense amount of archaeobotanical evidence, of papyrus, and of just very well preserved carbon-based materials. So the town of Karanis was observed by Francis Kelsey. He saw that the town was being systematically destroyed for the purposes of harvesting the mud brick for fertilizer. So you can see the extent of this destruction. All of this area would have been similar density to the perimeter area, but it was completely destroyed by the fertilizer excavators. So Kelsey saw this destruction, and he had the idea that they should go in and perform basically an early version of rescue archaeology, which is to go in before the fertilizer excavators get to the site and to preserve as much material and information about the site as possible. A lot of the collections that Kelsey brought back from Karanis actually compose a huge part of the Kelsey Museum's collections, which you can observe today, and have provided an amazing learning opportunity as a learning collection, and some amazing insights into the lives of everyday people, which we don't always get from this period of occupation. So about my work on the Agros project, the Agros project is observing some of these archaeobotanicals and using them to reanalyze and redate some of the findings that we have about Karanis. These excavations were conducted from 1924 onwards for about a decade by the University of Michigan. And because of that, it was not using modern methods. So really, we have a lot of imperfect conclusions drawn from this site. And the Agros project is looking at how can we take the material that we have and reanalyze those findings and bring them up to date with the modern understanding. So my work with the project is to scan in a lot of our written documentation for analysis by the project, You can see there's just an immense amount of written materials, maps, pottery sketches, on-site sketches, survey points on this project. A lot of it is not currently easily accessible to the public. So one of the goals of the EGRIS project is also to get this speedily published so that the public can view it and draw conclusions from it as well. So just as an example of what we're getting, this is two different houses, a house sketch. And you can see that there's these survey points and lengths. And so we've got, this is a top-down view of the house, and this is a profile view. And this is information that is really critical to study because, like I said, a lot of this site was just completely destroyed by the fertilizer excavations. So we get these notebooks. There's hundreds of these notebooks that are just filled with survey points. So we have pretty precise 3D reconstructions we can make from this, because this preserves in very scientific terms the locations of the points on these sketches. So with that, let me see if I can open it. This is a 3D reconstruction made from that data by a postdoc student on the EGRIS project, Tyler Johnson, who does just some great work. It's a work in progress. Is it going to let me view the... Okay, I don't know if I can get it on. Basically, the reconstruction allows you to view in 3D each of these houses reconstructed from those survey points. And this is crucial because the destruction of this site is fairly evident. This is one of the houses that the EGRIS project is studying. You can see this is a profile done during the U of M excavations, and a significant portion of the house, the right side of the house and the second level in its entirety, are completely destroyed. And this isn't for lack of preservation. The material on the site is very well preserved, but it hasn't always been very well conserved by the powers that be. So it's crucial that we get this material, because a lot of the times the only information that we have about this is what was recorded and what was done during the U of M excavations about 100 years ago. So in this picture, you can see in the top right corner, that's the same house from this slide. It's house C51. And you can just see, like, there was a lot more here when this was being excavated. And now C51 is pretty much the only building left in this vicinity. And this actually gives me a chance to talk about another thing that I've done with this project, which is to work on some of the colorization. So using neural networks that have been fed training data on colorized and black and white historical photographs, we can feed them in and get sort of a lively reconstruction. Although I will say the colors may not be so accurate. You can't always verify the accuracy of colors from an AI model. But it is cool to see some photographs that have been given a little bit more life. And it's really just sort of incredible seeing the scenes of daily life on this dig, which the history of the dig itself to me is just as fascinating as the town of Coronis itself. And so I'll leave you with some of the fun things that I found, which is the marginalia, which is in scanning just hundreds of photographs and maps. You find some pretty entertaining things in the margins. And so I thought that would be a good conclusion to end this talk on. So this is going to be a story between two of the excavators on the original 1924 dig. We've got George and Bo, who are both working on sketching and blueprinting the pottery found on the site. So we've got George has evidently drawn this pot upside down. So we've got George, section is on wrong side, turn paper over to trace. And George is sort of a sassy figure in this story. He says, top, per Bo's definite instructions. And then George has done it again. George, pot is upside down, otherwise okay. And George said, as required for Bo specifications limited. George Hampton, pot upside down in reverse. And I really like, George has evidently gotten fed up with this this constant nagging about drawing all the pots upside down, because he just says, see reverse. So thank you all for listening, and I'm glad to take any questions.